The hidden manipulation techniques you must know to protect yourself.
Imagine waking up one day, only to discover that your every action, thought, and decision had been influenced without your awareness. In our interconnected world, manipulation lurks in the shadows of daily interactions, often indistinguishable from genuine influence. A powerful and necessary part of human behavior, manipulation can be as benign as persuading a friend to try a new restaurant or as dangerous as shaping public opinion through disinformation. So, what truly lies behind these tactics? At its core, manipulation is about influence. It taps into our psychological triggers, where our emotions, biases, and instincts become the tools through which others can direct our actions. Whether it's a salesperson persuading you to buy an expensive car or a politician positioning an argument, understanding the mechanics of manipulation can be a game changer. Statistics reveal startling truths. Studies estimate that 1 in 3 people will encounter some form of manipulation in their lives, whether through advertising, interpersonal relationships, or the media. This phenomenon raises an important question: how can we safeguard ourselves against these often invisible forces? The roots of manipulation reach deep into history and psychology. One of the earliest documented studies on influence was conducted by social psychologist Robert Cialdini, who identified 6 principles of persuasion: reciprocity, commitment, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. Each of these principles serves as a building block for manipulation techniques. Cialdini's research has broad implications, especially when dissecting how these principles operate in real life. For instance, think of a time when someone did you a favor. This evokes a sense of reciprocity that often compels us to return the favor, even if it's not in our best interest. It's not just about individual interactions. Businesses leverage this principle to foster customer loyalty. Brands like Starbucks often provide a free drink after a certain number of purchases, directly manipulating customer behavior through the principle of reciprocity. However, manipulation is a double-edged sword. While it can be used for positive change, think of motivational speakers who manipulate emotions to inspire action. It can also hinder our ability to make independent decisions. Understanding the fine line between influence and manipulation is crucial. As we progress through this documentary, we'll peel back additional layers of manipulation, examining both subtle techniques and overt strategies. How can we identify them? And more importantly, how can we reclaim our autonomy in a world rife with psychological influence? Stay tuned as we delve into the first manipulation technique in our next chapter, setting the stage for your defense against these deceptive practices. Emotional manipulation is perhaps one of the most insidious forms of influence. This technique preys on our feelings and vulnerabilities, driving us to act in ways that we might not otherwise consider. It's often woven into the fabric of personal relationships, whether in friendships, romantic partnerships, or workplace dynamics. Let's begin with a striking example: the concept of gaslighting. Coined from the 1944 film Gaslight, where a man manipulates his wife into questioning her own sanity, gaslighting is a powerful emotional manipulation tactic. Research shows that victims of gaslighting suffer long-term psychological effects, such as anxiety and depression, as their reality becomes distorted. According to a 2020 survey by the National Domestic Violence Hotline, nearly 50% of respondents reported experiencing some form of emotional abuse during their relationships, a statistic that underscores the pervasiveness of emotional manipulation. Understandably, the effects are often deep-rooted, leading to crippling self-doubt and loss of personal power. Beyond relationships, workplaces are breeding grounds for emotional manipulation. Leaders may intentionally create a hostile work environment through fear tactics, using manipulation to increase productivity or control employees. Consider the infamous case of Enron, where executives used fear and deception to manipulate employees into hiding financial losses. The aftermath revealed not just the company's demise, but also the emotional toll on thousands of employees who were left devastated. So, how do we recognize emotional manipulation when it happens? A critical first step is increasing self-awareness. Recognizing your feelings and gut reactions during interactions can provide insight into manipulative tactics at play. For example, if you frequently feel anxious or guilty after conversations with a specific person, it may signal a manipulative dynamic. Keeping a journal can help document these feelings, allowing you to identify patterns over time. Moreover, understanding the common tactics of emotional manipulators can empower you. Common strategies include the use of guilt, silent treatment, and love bombing. These techniques aim to warp your emotional landscape, leaving you vulnerable and confused. For instance, love bombing occurs when someone overwhelms you with affection and praise, often to gain control over your emotions and decisions. In this chapter, we have only scratched the surface of emotional manipulation. As we dive deeper into the next chapter, we will explore the powerful role of persuasion and how it blends seamlessly with manipulation. What techniques can we harness for good, and how can we differentiate them from harmful manipulation? I assure you, the answers will leave you astounded. Persuasion is an everyday skill, one that can be both constructive and destructive. Distinguishing between healthy persuasion and manipulation often boils down to intent. While persuasion aims to influence through arguments and reasoning, manipulation seeks to coerce without the other party's informed consent. Dr. Robert Cialdini's principles of persuasion, introduced earlier, provide a framework for how we can influence others ethically. Interestingly, research shows that mastering these principles can not only enhance your effectiveness in personal interactions but also make you more resilient against manipulative tactics. When you understand how persuasion works, you become a more discerning observer of your interactions. Let's examine some of these principles in detail. First is reciprocity. As previously mentioned, this principle operates on the idea that people feel compelled to return favors. According to a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, individuals are twice as likely to comply with a request if they've received help beforehand. Think of how a simple thank you note can create goodwill and open doors for future requests. Next is commitment. This principle works on the notion that once someone commits to a small action, they are more likely to agree to larger requests later. This technique is often seen in fundraising efforts. By first asking for a small donation, organizations can later request larger sums from the same donor. The psychological principle of commitment makes it essential for fundraisers to create a warm and inviting atmosphere, ensuring donors feel valued and understood. Social proof is another potent principle. We are hardwired to look to others when making decisions, especially in ambiguous situations. A classic example is the use of testimonials in marketing. One study revealed that products with customer reviews are 12 times more likely to be purchased, demonstrating the power of social proof. However, wielding these principles ethically is crucial. We must ask ourselves, are we genuinely helping others, or are we just seeking to fulfill our own needs? In this chapter, we'll delve into the ethics of persuasion as we discuss the fine line that exists between ethical persuasion and manipulative tactics. As we ponder these questions, we'll look at a few case studies showcasing both ethical and unethical use of persuasion in the next chapter. How have these tactics shaped our society, and what can we learn from them? History is rife with examples of manipulation, illustrating just how powerful these techniques can be when wielded by those with intent. One of the most infamous case studies is the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which exploited psychological manipulation to influence electoral outcomes. By using data from millions of Facebook users, the organization targeted individuals with tailored political ads directly influenced by their personal data and behaviors. The implications were staggering. A 2017 study found that 90% of respondents felt that political advertising had manipulated their voting preferences. This realization sends chills down the spine of democracies everywhere. How easily can our decisions be swayed when we are unaware of the manipulation at play? Another historical example comes from psychology pioneer Edward Bernays, known as the father of public relations. In his groundbreaking work, Bernays applied psychological principles to shape public perception, famously persuading women to smoke in the 1920s by branding it as an act of liberation. His campaigns demonstrate how manipulation can take on a remarkable global scale, altering societal norms and values over time. While these case studies may seem distant, the reality is that manipulation techniques are prevalent in modern marketing, politics, and even daily life. Take, for instance, the use of scarcity in advertising, which plays on our fear of missing out. By presenting a product as scarce, companies create urgency that often compels consumers to act impulsively, bypassing careful decision-making. How can we combat these pervasive tactics? Recognizing the signs is essential. When faced with an advertisement or a political message, take a moment to reflect on the underlying methods being employed. Ask yourself, what emotion is being tapped into? Whether it's fear, desire, or social pressure, understanding these triggers can empower you against manipulation. In our next chapter, we'll discuss how to build resilience against manipulation techniques by developing critical thinking skills. But first, it's essential to examine one more critical area: the role of technology in amplifying manipulation in our digital age. How has the internet transformed the landscape of manipulation, and what does it mean for our future? The answers may surprise you. Welcome to the age of digital manipulation, where social media algorithms and targeted advertising shape our perceptions and behaviors without us even knowing it. In an era overwhelmed by information, understanding digital manipulation is essential to regaining control over our thoughts and decisions. Take, for instance, the rise of deepfake technology, which allows for the creation of hyperrealistic videos that can replicate a person's likeness and voice. A 2021 survey found that 63% of respondents expressed concern about the potential for deepfakes to mislead voters during elections. This technology highlights the alarming trend of how easily misinformation can spread, influencing our perspectives and decisions. Moreover, social media platforms utilize algorithms designed to keep us engaged, often at the expense of our mental health. These algorithms curate our content feeds, promoting posts that evoke strong emotional reactions, whether outrage or delight. A study published in the journal Science found that misinformation spreads 6 times faster on social media than true information, underscoring the challenges of navigating a digital landscape filled with manipulation. The rise of influencer culture further complicates this issue. Influencers often wield their power to persuade through personal narratives, but many lack transparency regarding sponsorships or the authenticity of their messages. This blurring of lines can leave followers susceptible to manipulation, leading them to make purchases or decisions based on misleading portrayals. A 2020 survey by the American Association of Advertising Agencies revealed that 70% of respondents felt they were manipulated by influencers at some level, indicating a growing awareness around this issue. So how can individuals protect themselves in the face of digital manipulation? Education is the first step. By developing digital literacy skills and understanding the mechanics of social media algorithms, we can become more informed consumers of content. Consider taking the time to verify sources before sharing information and questioning the intent behind what we see online. Moreover, creating healthy boundaries around social media use can help mitigate its emotional impact, reducing our vulnerability to manipulation. As we conclude this chapter, remember that the digital world is a double-edged sword, capable of both empowerment and manipulation. In our next chapter, we will explore practical strategies for building resilience against manipulation techniques in everyday life. By arming ourselves with knowledge, we can take a stand against the forces that seek to manipulate our thoughts and actions. What steps can we take to fortify our defenses and reclaim our autonomy? Coercive control is a form of manipulation that involves establishing dominance and exerting power over another person. The term is often associated with abusive relationships, but its implications reach far beyond. Coercive control manifests in various ways: physical violence, psychological manipulation, emotional abuse, and even financial exploitation. This chapter delves into the often subtle, yet insidious tactics that are employed to regain control when one's autonomy is threatened. Consider the case of Jane and Tom. Jane once felt empowered in her career and personal life. However, after marrying Tom, her autonomy began to dwindle. He questioned her decisions, monitored her communications with friends, and even criticized her talents. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. But coercive control can be more psychological than physical. Tom didn't need to raise his hand to assert power over Jane. His words were weapons. He made her feel unworthy, reliant, and ultimately trapped. The common thread in coercive control is isolation. The abuser ensures that the victim has limited access to outside support, distorting their perception of reality. Victims often report feeling like they are walking on eggshells, constantly fearing the emotional outbursts of their partner. This can create an endless cycle of grooming and despair. The psychological impact is staggering. Studies reveal that individuals subjected to coercive control face long-term mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Social psychologists argue that this systematic harassment can lead victims to internalize their abuser's narrative, leading to self-doubt and an erosion of their self-worth. How do we combat this phenomenon? Awareness is the first step. Understanding the signs of coercive control can empower individuals to break free from toxic relationships. Educational programs in schools and communities can shed light on these dangerous dynamics. Providing resources and support networks can help victims reclaim their autonomy. Additionally, legal reforms are necessary to recognize and prosecute coercive control as a distinct form of abuse. As you reflect on the impact of coercive control, consider also the wider societal implications. By normalizing these discussions and fostering open dialogues about emotional health, we can prevent further victims from falling into the manipulative clutches of coercive control. Yet, as we delve deeper into the psychological underpinnings of manipulation, prepare for the more subtle forms that lurk in everyday human interactions. Have you ever found yourself obeying instructions from someone in a uniform or a title? This chapter examines how authority can exploit our natural inclinations to follow orders, often leading to manipulation. The Milgram experiment, conducted in the 1960s, serves as a chilling reminder of our obedience to authority figures. Participants were instructed to deliver electric shocks to others, believing it was part of a learning experiment. What was striking about the studies was the extent to which ordinary people obeyed commands that conflicted with their personal conscience. Nearly 65% of participants delivered the maximum voltage, illustrating how authority can overshadow individual morality. This raises crucial questions. Why do we comply? What is it about authority that captivates us? Psychologists suggest that societal structures instill a predisposition to obey. Authority figures, often adorned with symbols of power, like uniforms or titles, exude confidence and expertise. This perceived credibility cultivates trust, which can lead individuals down a manipulative path. Consider a doctor providing a diagnosis. Most patients comply with recommended treatments, often without question, trusting the doctor's authority. However, this blind obedience can be manipulated. Take the case of Dr. Michael Swango, a physician who manipulated his position of authority to harm rather than help. He steadily gained trust in medical institutions, only to poison patients and staff alike. Swango's story exemplifies how authority can become a breeding ground for manipulation. Though rare, cases like his illuminate the darker underbelly of authority and its misuse. In a world where manipulation often hides behind authoritative facades, it's essential to cultivate critical thinking skills. Encouraging people to ask questions and seek second opinions can be crucial in thwarting manipulative individuals. Yet, What happens when authority shifts from individuals to institutions? As we explore the intersection of authority and manipulation further, consider the systems in place that shape our perceptions and decisions. Language is a powerful tool, and it can be weaponized to manipulate thoughts and feelings. This chapter delves into the realm of linguistic manipulation, how words can alter perceptions, shape narratives, and influence behaviors. Language is not just a method of communication, it represents power, and knowing how to use it effectively can be a game changer. Consider marketing. Companies spend millions crafting messages designed to tug at your emotions. Think of a commercial that showcases heartwarming family moments, only to conclude with an invitation to buy the latest gadget. This emotional manipulation is deliberate. Words elicit feelings, and feelings drive decisions. According to a study by the Wharton School, people are more likely to make a purchase when exposed to emotionally charged language rather than straightforward facts. The implication? Manipulation is embedded in everyday interactions, often unnoticed. Moreover, political rhetoric employs linguistic manipulation to sway public opinion. Politicians often use language that frames issues in particular ways, establishing a narrative that can either galvanize support or instigate fear. Take President Franklin D. Roosevelt's use of the phrase. In recent years, social media influencers have emerged as powerful figures capable of swaying public opinion and consumer behavior. But how do they achieve this? What psychological tricks do they use to draw their audience in and maintain their attention? Understanding these techniques is essential for anyone looking to navigate the complex world of digital media. Influencers often utilize a technique called relatability, making their followers feel as though they are friends rather than just viewers. By sharing personal stories, struggles, and triumphs, these influencers create a sense of intimacy that encourages followers to trust their recommendations. For example, a fitness influencer might share their journey through weight loss, detailing struggles with body image and motivation. This openness fosters a connection, encouraging followers to believe that if they can relate to this person, they can also achieve similar goals. Additionally, influencers utilize social proof, which is a powerful psychological principle. Social proof relies on the human tendency to look to others for guidance when making decisions. When followers see a post boasting thousands of likes or comments, it signals that the content is valuable and trustworthy. Moreover, influencers often employ a tactic known as scarcity, suggesting that certain products or offers are limited in availability. This strategy triggers urgency in consumers, prompting faster decision-making. A perfect example can be found in the beauty industry, where influencers promote makeup products available for a limited time. Followers are more likely to purchase these items immediately out of fear of missing out. Lastly, the reciprocity principle plays a crucial role in influencer marketing. By providing free content or valuable advice, influencers create a sense of obligation in their followers to give something back, often in the form of purchases or shares. Thus, as the world becomes increasingly driven by digital interactions, understanding these psychological tricks can help individuals make more informed choices about the influencers they follow and the products they buy. As we delve deeper into this chapter, we'll see real-life examples of influencers who have mastered these techniques, revealing the intricate dance of manipulation that occurs beneath the surface. Manipulation is not always about what is said, often, it's all about how things are presented nonverbally. Nonverbal cues can have profound effects on interpersonal communication and can be used to manipulate others without them even realizing it. This chapter explores the subtle yet powerful effects of body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice on human interaction. Research indicates that over 90% of communication is nonverbal. For example, maintaining steady eye contact can convey confidence and sincerity, while avoiding eye contact might suggest deceit or discomfort. A classic experiment by psychologist Albert Mehrabian demonstrated that 55% of communication is conveyed through body language, 38% through tone, and only 7% through actual words. This means that when someone says, "I'm fine," while crossing their arms and frowning, their nonverbal signals can be screaming a different message. Additionally, physical proximity can influence perceptions and feelings. People often feel more connected when communicating at closer distances, but invading personal space can also create discomfort. Skilled manipulators often exploit these dynamics to exert control. For example, a negotiator might lean in closer to establish rapport and create a sense of trust, using their body language to guide the interaction in their favor. Gender differences also play a significant role in nonverbal communication. Studies have shown that women may use more expressive body language to convey empathy, while men may adopt more dominant stances to assert control. Tensions can arise when these cultural and gender norms clash, often leading to misunderstandings. Throughout this chapter, we'll explore various real-life scenarios where nonverbal manipulation is at play, revealing how awareness of these signals can empower individuals to resist subtle coercion. The question remains, how aware are you of the nonverbal cues in your daily interactions, and how can they affect your decisions? Stay tuned to explore these powerful dimensions of human communication. Every day, we are bombarded with advertisements. But what makes some of these messages stick while others fade away? In this chapter, we'll dive into the world of marketing and advertising manipulation techniques, exploring how brands captivate our attention and persuade us to make purchases, often without our conscious awareness. Take a moment to consider your shopping experiences. Have you ever found yourself buying something on impulse? The latest study by the American Psychological Association revealed that around 60% of consumers admit to making impulsive purchases at least once a month. What drives this behavior? Companies use a variety of psychological triggers to influence our decisions, from scarcity tactics to social proof. Scarcity is one of the most powerful tools marketers have at their disposal. When people perceive that a product is rare or in short supply, it heightens its value in their minds. This tactic is often seen in limited-time offers, where phrases like "only a few left" or "limited edition" push consumers to act quickly. In fact, a well-known experiment by psychologist Robert Cialdini demonstrated that participants valued cookies more highly when they were told there were only 2 left in a jar, compared to 10 cookies in another jar. Another common manipulation technique is the use of authority figures in advertising. Ever noticed how commercials often feature experts or celebrities endorsing products? Take for instance the infamous Got Milk campaign, showcasing various celebrities with milk mustaches. The objective was simple: if these respected figures drink milk, you should too. Ads leverage our psychological tendency to trust authority, making us more likely to align with their messages. Moreover, advertisements frequently exploit our emotions, tapping into feelings of happiness, nostalgia, or even fear. The famous Puppy Love Super Bowl commercial by Budweiser tugged at viewers' heartstrings, blending humor and warmth to create a memorable message that ultimately urged viewers to purchase Budweiser beer. It's crucial to recognize that these emotional manipulations work because they forge a connection with consumers, making brands more relatable and their products more desirable. Yet, the manipulation doesn't stop at traditional media. Digital marketing has taken it to a new level. Algorithms analyze our online behavior, tailoring ads to our specific interests and preferences. The more time we spend online, the more the advertisements adapt to us, creating a cycle of manipulation that can be hard to escape. According to a report by eMarketer, digital ad spending in the United States is expected to reach over $200 billion by next year, showcasing how deep-rooted this manipulation has become in our daily lives. In understanding these techniques, we must ask ourselves, are we controlling our purchases, or are they controlling us? Join me next as we explore the psychological consequences of manipulation and how we can become more aware of its presence in our lives. As we unravel the intricate web of manipulation, it begs the question, where do we draw the line? Manipulation naturally carries a moral weight, raising ethical concerns about its application in various fields, particularly psychology, marketing, and social media. In this chapter, we delve into the ethical implications of manipulation techniques and ponder whether they can ever be justified. Consider the realm of psychology. Therapists often utilize manipulative techniques, albeit for healing rather than harm. Techniques such as cognitive restructuring can alter a client's perception and thought patterns, helping them to overcome anxiety or depression. While this may seem beneficial, critics argue that manipulating a person's thought process can undermine their autonomy. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology suggested that manipulation can foster dependency, impacting the long-term recovery of clients. So, when does helpful manipulation become harmful? This gray area presents an ongoing debate among professionals. One side argues that manipulation, when employed ethically, can lead to empowering outcomes. For instance, a subtle suggestion to embrace positive thinking can help a client gain confidence and achieve their goals. On the contrary, others maintain that any form of manipulation breaches the principle of informed consent, which is fundamental in therapy. Moving beyond therapy, we encounter the marketing industry, where ethical manipulation is an elusive concept. Brands must balance their desire to sell with the obligation to treat consumers fairly. Some companies have adopted ethical marketing strategies, promoting transparency and honesty while still using manipulation techniques to entice customers. For example, Tom's Shoes has built its brand on the promise of giving back, manipulating consumer emotions by appealing to their altruism. However, one must wonder whether these companies are genuinely committed to their causes or simply exploiting them for profit. In recent years, the rise of social media has introduced a new wave of ethical dilemmas surrounding manipulation. Influencers often curate their online personas, presenting idealized versions of their lives that can lead to unrealistic expectations among followers. A survey by Digital Marketing Institute found that 47% of consumers believe influencers should disclose when a post is sponsored. Failing to do so raises ethical concerns regarding transparency and authenticity. Are we being manipulated into desiring lifestyles that are unattainable? Moreover, the 2016 U.S. presidential election showcased a different manifestation of manipulation. The use of targeted advertisements and misinformation by political campaigns raised questions about the ethics of manipulating public opinion. While it is essential for campaigns to employ strategies for persuasion, crossing the line into deception can erode public trust and undermine democracy itself. As we dissect these ethical quandaries, it becomes evident that manipulation is a double-edged sword. It can empower or exploit, heal or harm. The challenge lies in adopting principles that promote ethical use while combating the potential for abuse. As we move forward, the critical question remains: how can we, as individuals, navigate a world rife with manipulation without compromising our principles? The next chapter will examine the art of self-defense against manipulation techniques, equipping you with the skills to protect yourself. In a world saturated with manipulation, how can we equip ourselves to resist the influences that seek to shape our thoughts and actions? This chapter is dedicated to empowering you with essential self-defense techniques against manipulation, ensuring you navigate interactions with confidence and clarity. Understanding manipulation is the first step. By recognizing the tactics employed, from emotional appeals to deceptive language, you can arm yourself with the knowledge needed to question their validity. A powerful tool in resisting manipulation is critical thinking. Cognitive biases, like confirmation bias and the bandwagon effect, often cloud our judgment, leading us to accept information that aligns with our beliefs without further analysis. A study in the journal Cognition found that people are more likely to believe information when a majority agrees with it, regardless of its accuracy. This highlights the importance of scrutinizing information instead of accepting it at face value. Practice asking probing questions. When you encounter a persuasive argument, challenge it. Who benefits from this information? What evidence supports it? These inquiries foster a critical approach to understanding manipulation. For example, if you watch an advertisement boasting about a product's efficacy, question the claims made. Are they backed by scientific research, or are they merely appeals to emotion? Another technique is developing emotional awareness. Understanding your feelings can shield you from emotional manipulation. If you find yourself feeling guilty or anxious while making a decision, pause and reflect on where those feelings stem from. Are they generated by your internal thoughts, or are they a result of someone else's influence? Embracing mindfulness practices can enhance your emotional intelligence and help you recognize when someone is attempting to manipulate your feelings. Moreover, building assertiveness skills can significantly enhance your ability to resist manipulation. Assertiveness involves expressing your needs and desires confidently while respecting the thoughts and feelings of others. When someone attempts to manipulate you, standing firm and clearly articulating your boundaries can deter further attempts. Techniques like I statements can help frame your responses without escalating conflict. For instance, saying, "I feel uncomfortable when," can effectively convey your stance without placing blame. Lastly, fostering strong social connections can create a support network that helps you remain grounded amid manipulation attempts. Discussing experiences with trusted friends can provide perspective and reinforce your understanding. In fact, a study from the University of California found that social support can counteract the persuasive effects of manipulative tactics, emphasizing the importance of surrounding yourself with a reliable support system. As we conclude this chapter, remember, the first step toward resistance is awareness. By acknowledging manipulation's presence and employing these self-defense techniques, you can empower yourself, reclaiming autonomy over your choices. In our closing segment, we will reflect on the journey we've taken, considering how understanding manipulation can lead to personal growth and improved relationships. Group dynamics play a pivotal role in manipulation techniques. Understanding how individuals are influenced by the collective can provide insights into the mechanisms of control. One powerful example of this is the concept of groupthink, where the desire for harmony or conformity within a group results in irrational or dysfunctional decision-making. Groupthink can lead to the suppression of dissenting viewpoints, which ultimately stifles innovation and critical thinking. This phenomenon was famously observed during the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, where President John F. Kennedy and his team made poor decisions due to the overwhelming desire to maintain unity. In this chapter, we will explore how leaders can exploit group dynamics to manipulate their followers and how individuals can protect themselves from becoming enmeshed in these groups. The idea of social proof is also crucial in this context. When individuals see others conforming to certain behaviors, they are more likely to follow suit, often without questioning the underlying motives. A classic study by Solomon Asch in the 1950s illustrated this tendency. Participants were more likely to give incorrect answers about line lengths when they observed others doing the same, demonstrating the compelling power of social influence. Furthermore, we will delve into how cults and extremist groups manipulate vulnerable individuals by creating a sense of belonging. They employ various techniques such as love bombing and information control to ensure compliance. This chapter will conclude with strategies to discern healthy group dynamics from harmful ones, empowering viewers to navigate social situations with awareness and critical thinking. As we look at the intersection of social influence and manipulation, prepare to discover surprising ways in which belonging can be weaponized in the most subtle of ways. Cognitive biases are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment, and they can be powerful tools for manipulation. One of the most notorious cognitive biases is the confirmation bias, where individuals favor information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs. This bias can be exploited by those wishing to manipulate public opinion, as seen in political propaganda. During elections, targeted advertising often reinforces the existing beliefs of voters, creating echo chambers that limit exposure to opposing viewpoints. Consider the remarkable case of how micro-targeting worked in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Campaigns used data analytics to tailor messages to specific segments of the population, tapping into their biases and emotions to sway opinions and encourage voter turnout. Another key bias is the anchoring effect, where individuals rely too heavily on the first piece of information they encounter when making decisions. This can lead to significant consequences in the realms of finance and negotiation. In a notorious study, participants were influenced by arbitrary numbers presented before making offers in a negotiation exercise, leading to skewed results. We will explore more cognitive biases, such as the Dunning-Kruger effect, where individuals with low ability at a task overestimate their ability. This effect can be manipulated by charismatic leaders or influencers who prey on the overconfidence of their followers. Throughout this chapter, we will also share stories of individuals who have fallen victim to cognitive biases, exploring how they can lead to disastrous personal and professional outcomes. By the end of this chapter, viewers will gain a better understanding of how cognitive biases shape our judgments and decisions, and how they can be countered to defend against manipulation tactics. Fear and scarcity are potent emotional triggers that manipulators often exploit. The psychology of fear is fascinating. It can push individuals to take actions they normally would resist. One powerful illustration comes from the world of marketing, where limited-time offers or high-pressure sales tactics are used to create a sense of urgency. For instance, marketers often advertise that a product is running out fast or that a deal will expire soon, compelling consumers to act quickly. This tactic is not just a hallmark of commercial manipulation, but has deep roots in historical contexts, such as wartime propaganda. During World War II, governments disseminated information that played on public fears, rallying support for various actions such as enlistment or rationing. Furthermore, the concept of scarcity taps into our innate desire for what we cannot easily have. This principle was exemplified in a study involving children and cookies. When two jars of cookies were presented, one with a few cookies and the other with many, children overwhelmingly preferred the jar with fewer cookies, associating rarity with better value. In this chapter, we will unpack numerous examples of how fear and scarcity are woven into the fabric of manipulation, from politics to social situations. We will also explore real-life scenarios where fear tactics were used, such as in high-stakes negotiations or during public health emergencies, and how these tactics shape societal behavior. To conclude, we will provide viewers with tools on how to recognize fear-based manipulation techniques, equipping them to make choices grounded in rationality rather than fear. Prepare to uncover the mechanisms through which fear operates and how it can be both a tool for manipulation and a powerful catalyst for change. Group dynamics play a pivotal role in shaping individual behaviors and decisions, often leading people to act in ways they might not when alone. Understanding how these dynamics function is crucial for recognizing manipulation as it unfolds within a social context. Throughout history, psychological experiments have illustrated the power of group influence, one of the most famous being Solomon Asch's conformity experiments in the 1950s. In these studies, Asch found that individuals were willing to sacrifice their own perceptions for the sake of conformity. When placed in a group where everyone else gave an incorrect answer to a simple question, subjects often followed suit, even when they knew the correct answer. This illustrates the profound impact group pressure can have on an individual's thought process, making them vulnerable to manipulation by peers or authority figures who wield that group dynamic. Consider the phenomenon of mob mentality. During protests or riots, individuals may engage in actions they typically wouldn't endorse if alone, driven by the collective mindset of the group. Factors that amplify this tendency include anonymity, diffusion of responsibility, and the excitement generated from being part of a larger cause. When individuals lose their sense of identity within a crowd, they're more susceptible to manipulation, which can lead to both positive social change and destructive behavior. Another key aspect is the role of social proof in group dynamics. People are heavily influenced by observing others, often turning to their peers to guide their decisions, especially in uncertain situations. This effect is particularly noticeable on social media platforms, where individuals tend to follow trends based on what their peers are doing, often without critical evaluation. Marketers exploit this tendency by utilizing influencers and testimonials to create a sense of credibility for their products. One noteworthy case is the rise of the Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014. When influential figures participated, millions joined in, not only donating to ALS research but also engaging in a viral phenomenon that highlighted the power of social influence and shared experiences. However, the same principles that enable these positive outcomes can also lead to harmful consequences. For instance, cults often employ group tactics to manipulate their members, creating an us versus them mentality that fosters loyalty and obedience. In a cult environment, leaders often utilize manipulation techniques such as isolation from outside influences and structured social interactions that reinforce the group's ideology. Over time, these individuals may lose their sense of self and critical reasoning, making it significantly easier for them to succumb to the leader's commands. To counteract the influence of group dynamics on manipulation, it's essential to cultivate self-awareness and critical thinking skills. Understanding that conformity can lead to undue influence encourages individuals to maintain their perspectives during group discussions. This empowerment lays the groundwork for resisting manipulation, allowing one's voice and opinion to stand firm against the tide of social pressure. Therefore, fostering environments that promote open dialogue rather than blind conformity can help mitigate the risks associated with manipulative group dynamics. It's crucial for individuals to recognize their own vulnerabilities within group settings and strive for a balance between group collaboration and personal integrity. As we delve deeper into the complexities of manipulation, the next chapter will explore how cognitive biases become tools for manipulation, creating a structure through which individuals can be directed to irrational decisions. What biases are you unknowingly succumbing to? Let's find out. Cognitive biases are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment. They affect the way we think, perceive the world, and make decisions, often without our conscious awareness. Understanding these biases can illuminate how easily we can be manipulated. One prominent example is the confirmation bias, which causes us to search for, interpret, and remember information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. When we encounter evidence that contradicts our views, we tend to dismiss it or rationalize it away. This bias can be exploited by manipulators who present selective information that aligns with their agenda, reinforcing the beliefs of their audience and leading to polarized perspectives. For example, media outlets often showcase only the stories that align with their political slant, deepening ideological divides. Another significant bias is anchoring bias, where individuals rely too heavily on the first piece of information they encounter when making decisions. This can be particularly potent in circumstances involving negotiations or sales. A classic case demonstrating this bias is a simple experiment where participants were asked to estimate the percentage of African nations in the UN. When participants were given a higher anchor, their estimates were skewed upwards, demonstrating how powerful initial numbers can be in shaping perceptions. Marketers use anchoring to frame prices. By presenting a higher original price beside the discounted price, consumers are manipulated into perceiving the deal as more valuable than it may objectively be. This not only impacts purchasing decisions but can also lead to significant financial mistakes if consumers are not vigilant. Another bias that plays into manipulation is the scarcity effect, where people place higher value on items that are perceived as scarce. Scarcity creates a sense of urgency, often leading to impulsive decisions. This concept is popular in marketing, where phrases like limited time offer can drive consumers to act quickly without thinking critically about the necessity of their purchase. A striking example occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic, where toilet paper quickly became a scarce commodity in many countries. As supply dwindled, people began hoarding it, driven by the perception of scarcity, despite the fact that many households had enough supply to last for months. This irrational behavior illustrates how cognitive biases can lead to significant disruptions in societal behavior. Additionally, the Dunning-Kruger effect reveals how individuals with low ability at a task overestimate their ability, while those with high ability may underestimate it. This can lead to significant issues in team settings, where those least qualified are often the loudest voices in the room, potentially manipulating group decisions and outcomes. Being aware of cognitive biases allows individuals to take a step back when making decisions, especially in high-pressure situations where manipulation may occur. Simple techniques like seeking diverse perspectives, questioning initial impressions, and fact-checking can significantly mitigate the impact of these biases. Learning to navigate through our cognitive biases equips us to make better choices and resist manipulation effectively. In the next chapter, we will explore the role of fear and scarcity in manipulation, examining how these primal instincts can be leveraged to control thoughts and actions, even in everyday situations. How do the fears we have play into the narrative of manipulation? Stay tuned. Fear and scarcity are two of the most potent emotional triggers that can be exploited for manipulation, influencing behaviors and choices profoundly. From marketing strategies to political campaigns, the application of these elements is often designed to prompt immediate responses. Fear, as a fundamental human emotion, can lead people to make irrational decisions. For instance, during election seasons, candidates frequently employ fear tactics to sway public opinion. By highlighting potential dangers, whether economic collapse, national security threats, or social unrest, they create a narrative that prompts citizens to rally around them as the solution. This tactic not only amplifies support for a candidate but also stifles critical discourse, pushing voters toward decisions made out of fear rather than informed judgment. A profound example of fear manipulation is the use of advertisements that depict dire scenarios for not using a particular product, such as health-related ads that illustrate the consequences of smoking, for instance. These ads are designed to invoke fear and compel viewers to take action, quitting smoking or seeking help, based on the emotional response created. While such advertising can be beneficial, it also underscores how fear can be used to manipulate audiences into compliance. Scarcity, on the other hand, drives urgency, making people feel compelled to act quickly. This principle is often used in marketing, where limited-time offers or exclusive deals are presented. When consumers perceive that an opportunity may not be available later, they often rush to make decisions without evaluating the value of the offer adequately. A famous example comes from the Black Friday sales in the United States, where the fear of missing out drives shoppers into stores long before dawn to snag deals, even if they don't need the items. Moreover, scarcity is a psychological tactic often seen in the realm of social media. Influencers frequently create content highlighting limited edition products or experiences, urging audiences to act quickly, often using phrases like "only a few left in stock" or "this opportunity won't last." These cues serve to manipulate followers into immediate action, driven by the anxiety of potential regret. The implications of using fear and scarcity as tools for manipulation present an ethical dilemma. While they can lead to desired behaviors, such as increased donations during a crisis or actions taken during emergencies, the potential for these techniques to be misused exists, leading to exploitation and undue influence. To defend against fear-based manipulation, it's vital for individuals to cultivate a critical mindset. When confronted with fear-inducing scenarios, taking a step back to analyze the validity and context of the information can help mitigate its impact. Being informed and aware allows individuals to recognize when fear is being used manipulatively rather than genuinely, empowering them to make decisions based on facts and rationality. As we draw this exploration to a close, it's essential to remember that manipulation techniques are ubiquitous in our daily lives, embedded within strategies that influence our decisions and interactions. In our next chapter, we will consolidate everything we've learned about manipulation techniques and how to harness this knowledge for personal growth and empowerment. How can understanding manipulation lead you to become a master of your fate? Let's find out. As we dive further into the intricacies of manipulation, we find ourselves faced with a psychological concept that's as fascinating as it is alarming: the dark triad. This triad consists of 3 personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. These traits are often correlated with manipulative behaviors, leading to significant implications in personal and professional relationships. Let's first talk about narcissism. A narcissist typically craves admiration and attention, often exaggerating their accomplishments and belittling others to maintain an inflated sense of self-worth. They can be charming and persuasive, adept at manipulating social situations to place themselves in a favorable light. An example of this can be observed in workplaces where a narcissistic leader may take credit for team successes while shifting blame for failures onto others. This not only demoralizes the team but also ensures the narcissist remains at the forefront, firmly in control of their image and power. Now, let's address Machiavellianism. This trait is named after the infamous philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, who advocated for cunning and duplicity in political leadership. Machiavellians view others as tools to be used for personal gain, often manipulating their emotions and exploiting their weaknesses. In relationships, a Machiavellian individual might use charm to seduce, only to later reveal their true intent, to dominate or control their partner. Next up is psychopathy, often the most extreme of the 3 traits. Psychopaths are characterized by a lack of empathy and remorse, making them particularly dangerous manipulators. They can engage in deceitful behavior without a second thought, often getting what they want through intimidation or coercion. The societal impacts of these traits can be enormous. Studies have shown that individuals high in the dark triad traits are often attracted to positions of power and influence, leading to toxic environments that can negatively affect the mental health of those around them. As we dissect these characteristics further, it becomes clear that understanding the dark triad is vital for recognizing and defending against these manipulative tactics. Just as we think we understand the nuanced layers of manipulation, we peel back another layer, revealing the often hidden influences of the dark triad on our everyday interactions. In the age of digital connectivity, social media has revolutionized not just how we communicate, but also how manipulation tactics evolve and infiltrate our lives. Platforms like Facebook